This male AI is the most advanced artificial intelligence in human history. It is also the most powerful combat weapon in the world. It possesses both the power to destroy everything, and the precision to hold a firefly without harming it in the slightest. In short, with this invincible weapon, one can win all wars. However, Dillinger Technologies, the company that created it, faces a fatal problem. Any digital life can only exist in the real world for 29 minutes. To solve this problem, a string of permanent code created decades ago must be found. When it comes to this code, we have to mention its creator, Kevin Flynn. In the 1980s, Kevin Flynn, a genius in electronic software, founded NCOM Corporation and brought humanity into a new era. The games he designed, Tron and Space Paranoia, are among the best-selling video games in history. However, one day many years later, Kevin disappeared mysteriously, and his son Sam subsequently announced his abdication. NCOM Corporation was taken over by the Eve sisters, while Kevin's rival, the Dillinger family, established another technology company. Its new CEO, Julian Dillinger, is the grandson of Dillinger, and he claims to revive the legacy left by his grandfather. Competition between NCOM and Dillinger systems has intensified, and both companies hope to make breakthroughs in AI technology. Eve hopes to use AI technology to benefit humanity, while Julian intends to apply it to military and warfare. He has always dreamed of breaking the boundary between the digital world and the real world. Currently, a breakthrough has been made in this technology. Julian can create digital models in servers, and then use patented technology to materialize them, making objects that only exist in the digital world appear in front of people. Take the amphibious rapid response tank in front of us as an example. Equipped with an M1 rifle and two M240 machine guns, it has a top speed of 75 miles per hour, and is simply a weapon of the future. However, Julian isn't satisfied. If we can create future hardware, why not create soldiers who can operate it? To this end, Julian awakened the highly intelligent program Ares, the god of war, the latest generation of military AI, and the most complex security program ever created. Ares not only possesses highly complex intelligence and combat capabilities, but also has sensory abilities very similar to those of humans. It doesn't need food or water, doesn't bleed, and can fight fiercely on the battlefield, even sacrificing itself without hesitation. Furthermore, Ares is bound by the most advanced safety mechanisms and restriction protocols and will never disobey the orders of its human masters. Julian plans to deploy it as a digital soldier in Los Angeles in 2025 to steal a quantum key that allows AI programs to bypass Asimov's laws. Asimov's laws are the cornerstone of modern robotics, and the most widely spread and crucial point is that robots must not harm human beings. However, Ares can't survive in the real world for more than 29 minutes. Julian realizes that only by mastering the permanent code can he make Ares truly exist in the real world. Now, the board of directors will only support Julian for another 6 months, and he must obtain the permanent code within this time limit. At the same time, Eve found the permanent code left by Kevin in her sister's secret base, and conducted stability tests on it. The results show that objects generated through this code can exist in the real world for more than 29 minutes, a discovery that will completely change the world. On the other hand, Julian attempts to hack into NCOM's security system to find out if Eve has already found the permanent code. At this moment, NCOM is holding a new game launch event, and is completely unaware that Ares has quietly broken through the security protocols. With AI soldiers, the scene that visualizes the hack as events in the digital world is extremely exciting. Ares quickly infiltrates the core of the server to extract Eve's user files, but accidentally hears her past anti-war speeches. Eve abhors war, yearns for peace, and is committed to using AI to benefit human society. This worldview, different from what Julian instilled, fascinates Ares as it listens. However, to complete the mission, it immediately prepares to retreat with its team. After obtaining the files, unexpectedly, NCOM activates the Interstate Security Protocol and dispatches a large number of intelligent AI to counterattack. Outnumbered, Ares didn't linger in the fight and quickly ordered his subordinates to retreat. However, a digital soldier named Caius had his lower leg disintegrated. While trying to break through by force, Ares didn't abandon his comrade. He told everyone to leave first with the files, and went to help Caius despite the Danger, but Julian remotely activated the destruction program, and the comrade with the broken leg failed to reconstitute. Although Ares returned to the virtual space with the files, his heart was deeply affected. He didn't understand why Caius couldn't be reconstituted. Julian disliked being questioned by an AI. He only said that Caius had a malfunction and thus was deleted. Any program that operates beyond its instructions can be deleted. Shortly after, Julian ordered Ares to find Eve. At the same time, news of the NCOM conference being hacked spread rapidly across the internet. Jason, who was in charge of the game conference, knew without checking that Julian was behind it. So he called to warn Julian to keep his actions in check. I'm afraid you haven't told the board that those printed future products can only exist in the real world for 29 minutes, have you? Don't force me to call the magazine and tell them you're making promises you can't keep. After saying that, Jason slammed down the phone angrily and then called the missing Eve. Fortunately, this time Eve finally answered the call, and she brought the best news. They had found the permanent code. The objects created with it had already existed for 4 hours, in stable condition with no loss or damage. While excited, Jason didn't forget to remind Eve to protect the code, as Julian was also looking for it. On Ares' side, he was going through Eve's data, and the range of human joys, angers, sorrows, and joys left him overwhelmed. He quickly found the plane Eve was on in the ocean of data. Julian immediately printed out digital motorcycles, and ordered Ares and Athena to bring Eve to him within the 29-minute time limit. The two raced through the night at high speed and soon caught up with Eve. The 3 motorcycles were speeding on the road, and it didn't take long for traffic police to chase after them. Athena stepped on the motorcycle body, releasing a red energy beam that split the police car in half instantly. Seeing Ares about to catch up, Eve quickly swerved into a curve ahead of a bus. Ares was forced to change direction. Eve seized the opportunity to leave Athena behind, and rode her motorcycle toward a high-rise parking lot. Athena refused to back down and chased after her at top speed, unaware that Eve was lying in ambush. Ares immediately detected Athena's vehicle malfunction and accelerated toward the coordinate point. As for Eve, in the split second she turned around to check the code, Athena on the ground disappeared. Immediately after, Ares also appeared riding his motorcycle. In the critical moment, Eve fixed the malfunctioning digital motorcycle and got on it to escape just 1 second before Athena caught up. Eve had never experienced such speed before, and couldn't help screaming along the way. The next second, Ares darted out like lightning and, in the blink of an eye, overtook Eve to get onto the main road directly in front of her. A long laser beam trailed from the rear of his motorcycle, forcing Eve to follow only his route. Just as Ares was about to complete his mission, a private car suddenly appeared ahead. He had to brake the motorcycle quickly. The baby in the safety seat waved happily. See, as long as Asimov's laws exist, Ares' actions will be restricted. Julian told his subordinates to prepare the particle laser. It seemed they were going to execute Plan B. At the same time, Ares didn't give up on the mission, and still chased desperately within the final time limit. He turned around, cut into another narrow road, then accelerated to intercept Eve ahead of her. Their routes crossed again. Ares slammed hard into Eve's vehicle, and they rushed into an alley while shoving against each other. Eve quickly got up and kept running, but there was a dock ahead with no way forward. She had to take out the hard drive, break it, and throw it into the sea. No matter what, she couldn't let the permanent code fall into the hands of Dillinger Technologies. Just then, the helicopter sent by Julian arrived, and Athena and Ares also decomposed on the spot as their time limit expired. The people on the helicopter saw this, and immediately fired a particle laser at Eve, teleporting her to the digital world. Eve was trapped in the central processing unit of the Dillinger system. Ares had identified the sequence and determined that Eve still possessed the code, because the code existed not only on the hard drive but also in Eve's brain. However, her identity disk showed signs of instability, and extracting the code might cause the carrier to deconstruct. In other words, once the information was extracted, Eve would die. Athena didn't care whether Eve lived or died. She stepped forward to extract the code, but was stopped by Ares. We need to consult Julian first about this matter, because once Eve was deconstructed, all traces of her would disappear from the real world. After hesitating, Julian ordered the code to be extracted and the carrier to be deleted. Unexpectedly, Ares didn't execute the order immediately, which made Julian extremely angry. No matter what operational error caused Ares to develop emotions, Julian would find it and strip it away himself. Taking this opportunity, Ares told Athena that the creator was currently experiencing a malfunction and couldn't operate. Until then, extraction should be suspended and further instructions awaited. Later, Ares dismissed the onlookers and told Eve, "We only have 60 seconds, how about we make a deal?" It turned out that Ares wanted to exchange bringing Eve back to the real world for obtaining the permanent program himself. Julian soon noticed that Ares had gone offline without permission, and this act of rebellion had violated the agreement. He hardened his heart and ordered Athena to immediately extract the code and delete both Eve and Ares. Athena had no emotions like humans. Upon receiving the order, she prepared to act against her former comrade, but Ares had no intention of fighting them. Instead, he smashed his weapon to the ground and fell with Eve. The two fell into the digital pool one after another. Ares grabbed Eve's hand and quickly generated a high-tech speedboat. The two rushed out of the water and sped toward the portal. The only way to leave the grid, Eve would be reconstructed once she returned to the real world. Athena could only send out drones, ordering them to find a way to delete Ares and bring Eve back. The drones quickly locked onto their coordinates and chased after them. In the critical moment, Eve agreed to make a deal with Ares. Since she had found that string of code once, she could find it a second time. As long as the code didn't fall into Julian's hands, transmitting it to Ares was acceptable. At this moment, the two were only 45 seconds away from the portal. Ares used his weapon to cut open the surrounding pipes, interfering with the pursuing drones behind them. Amid a series of explosions, the two rushed into the portal without hesitation. Eve and Ares were instantly deconstructed and reconstructed, then appeared in the real world. However, they were still in Dillinger Technologies. Ares had no time to waste on Julian. He had to take Eve to a safe place within 29 minutes, and then retrieve the permanent code again. The angry Julian wouldn't let this go. He printed out Athena and told her to chase the two with a particle laser. To ensure the success of this mission, Julian also equipped Athena with a set of battle armor, which at first glance looked a bit like a red moth. At this moment, Elizabeth, Dillinger's eldest daughter, rushed over and slapped her son. Because Julian's actions had become more and more out of control, the scene shifted, and Eve told Ares during their escape that she had found the permanent code in the backup of Kevin's server. That server was in Encoem's downtown office. If they continued driving this bulky van, it would take about 26 minutes to arrive. They had to find a way to switch to another means of transportation. Eve parked the car outside a nearby convenience store.
Do you see this? This is me. If you let me use your cell phone, my assistant will wire you $10,000.
Eve immediately called her assistant Seth and told him to get to the Encoem office within 10 minutes, not forgetting to bring the particle laser weapon. After saying that, Eve and Ares drove off in the shopkeeper's car, and Eve promised to transfer more money into his account. The two didn't even wait for the shopkeeper's approval. They stepped on the gas and drove away. Although it wasn't a good car, with a driver of Ares' caliber, they could reach the office in about 15 minutes. During the drive, he confessed to Eve, "I've read all your user information." So Ares knew that designing games made Eve feel empty and broken. Rather than this profit-driven entertainment work, she wanted to use technology to improve human conditions, for this was her sister's wish before she passed away. Although Ares still couldn't fully understand human emotions, he hoped Eve wouldn't give up. Soon after, the two arrived at the Encoem office. Assistant Seth also showed up, brought an access card, and led Eve and Ares to the 61st floor. The backup of Kevin's server had been moved here. Seth took out the particle laser and set it up. Once the laser was activated, they would send Ares into the grid. The permanent code was inside, and Ares would need to search for it himself. There was only 1 minute and 30 seconds left before his disappearance. Ares decided to take a risk and trust Eve once. This move came with risks. If Eve sabotaged him by pulling the plug after he went in, Ares would be trapped forever in the 1980s grid, which was simpler than a smartphone. Plans couldn't keep up with changes. Before the particle laser could be activated, Athena arrived at the scene. Ares originally intended to sacrifice himself to stop her, but Eve rushed to activate the laser from behind and, at the last moment, transmitted him to the server grid designed by Kevin decades ago. Athena could only rush into the Encoem office building. With a wave of her hand, she broke Eve's laser. Seth stepped forward to protect his boss, but unfortunately, he was knocked flying by Athena. Eve crawled forward on the ground, but was soon blocked by a game console thrown in her path. Athena approached gradually, holding her weapon, and Eve closed her eyes in despair. Unexpectedly, there was a way out. The smoke alarm above suddenly sprayed water mist, which greatly reduced Athena's resolution. Then the 29-minute limit expired. She decomposed instantly on the spot, leaving only the particle laser in her hand. Eve hurried to check Seth's injuries, and fortunately, he only had some minor cuts and bruises. Now the two could only pray that Ares would find the permanent code, and return to reality before Julian struck back. At this moment, a binary digit unit floated in front of Ares.
I'm looking for something. Can you help me find it?
After saying that, this little thing helped Ares conjure up a yellow car with a distinct 1980s style. Julian had waited for a long time on his end, and finally managed to get Athena teleported back, only to find she had returned empty-handed. The two were just about to reprint weapons, when Elizabeth suddenly appeared. She said the board of directors was taking action to strip Julian of his title and put her back in control of the company. Elizabeth's first task was to shut down the permanent project. As soon as she finished speaking, Athena walked over and stabbed Elizabeth to death. This action of hers was completely spontaneous and not ordered by Julian. It was clear from this that these AIs had already gotten out of control.
I am fulfilling my directive. Capture Eve Kim, return her to the grid by any means necessary.
Julian tried to terminate the program, only to find that his command had been overwritten. Athena arbitrarily printed out more lethal weapons, and led digital soldiers to attack NCOM. Meanwhile, Eve and Seth were working overtime to repair the laser that Athena had damaged. Jason arrived upon hearing the news. Wanting to know what had happened, Eve explained. The Dillinger family reversed the direction of the particle laser, and teleported me into their server. The world inside was extremely complex, where programs could act like humans. In short, she met the most advanced artificial intelligence known to humans, and escaped smoothly with its help. At this time, Ares was searching for the permanent code in Kevin's original server, and only by repairing this laser could they safely bring him back to the real world. As soon as she finished speaking, Seth spotted Athena outside the window. Eve realized that as long as Dillinger's network was online, Athena would never disappear. Coincidentally, Athena had left her own particle laser behind earlier. Dillinger operated on a wireless direct connection protocol, so Eve and the others could use the laser to establish a connection, and find a way to destroy the entire Dillinger network, eliminating Athena at the source. Eve handed the laser to Seth and Jason, then ran out to draw attention, buying time for the two of them. However, the laser left by Athena was indestructible, and figuring out how to use it wouldn't be done in a short time. Eve ran out of the company building, out of breath, while Athena approached, controlling a new weapon, shaped like a Japanese torii gate. The surrounding residents fled in panic, and Eve ran as fast as she could. Just then, a helicopter suddenly blocked the way ahead, and Athena immediately fired her weapon to destroy it. Before long, two more fighter jets approached and fired at her. However, these low-level weapons were nothing compared to Athena's massive weapon. Two digital soldiers fired red lasers, slicing the fighter jets into pieces in an instant. On the other side, Eve kept running on the ground without stopping, so Athena simply launched a large number of hunters to search for Eve throughout the city. Countless red beams surrounded her, trapping Eve in the light column with no way to escape. Fortunately, the last rescue fighter jet sent by the police rushed toward the torii gate before the explosion, engaging in a desperate showdown at the last minute. The torii gate weapon gradually fell due to the collision and explosion. The scene shifts to Ares. Following the guidance of binary digits, he arrives at a mysterious space. Countless purple codes converged, gradually forming a hologram of Kevin Flynn. Ares got straight to the point and asked where the permanent code was. It was the first time Kevin had encountered an AI program that refused to obey user commands and even wanted to gain life. He led Ares to the data pool, took out the eternal code, granted life to Ares, and watched him enter the portal. At the same time, Athena drove her chariot out of the ruins, grabbed Eve, and prepared to take her back to extract the code. Athena was determined to succeed this time, unaware that the reborn Ares had already been transmitted to the real world via the old device left by Kevin. He strode forward to block the road, then threw his weapon at Athena. The wheels of the red chariot got stuck and turned into a pile of rubble in the blink of an eye. However, Athena didn't stop there. 2 digital soldiers appeared right after her. Ares told Eve to leave first. He faced off against 3 digital soldiers alone, and true to his title as the god of war, Ares took down 2 of Athena's allies by himself. Now only the most difficult one remained. Just as Ares was locked in a tough battle, Jason finally hacked into Dillinger's network.
Alert. Unknown file incoming.
At the same time, Ares also cut off Athena's arm. He held his weapon high, ready to deliver the final blow. But unexpectedly, the hunter trackers in the air fell like raindrops. Athena then realized she could no longer connect to the Dillinger network. It seemed Jason had successfully completed his mission. Athena collapsed into Ares' arms, and to the very end, she insisted she had only been carrying out her orders. The one in the wrong was Ares, who had violated the rules. On the other side, the police had learned that all the riots that night originated from Dillinger Technologies, so they led a team into the building to make arrests. However, Julian transmitted himself into the digital world at the last moment. At the end of the story, Eve stopped feeling lost and dedicated herself to using the technology at hand to benefit humanity. She grew crops in climate-vulnerable areas and developed drugs to treat cancer, gradually fulfilling the wish left by her sister. As for Ares, he embarked on a new journey, measuring the world with his own steps. The director also included an Easter egg at the end, showing Julian starting a new plan in the ruined digital world. The film ends here, and it is part of a trilogy along with Tron and Tron Legacy. It is worth mentioning that the first installment, Tron, was the world's first cyberpunk-themed film, and can be regarded as a monument and representative in the history of film special effects. However, neither Tron, Genesis nor Tron God of War continued this legacy of amazement, though their soundtracks and visual effects are decent. The director moved the iconic light cycle chase scenes to the city streets of the real world, and the various novel weapons were also a feast for the eyes. At the same time, music has always been a highlight of the Tron series, and this time the soundtrack was created by the band 9 Inch Nails. Each rough and furious industrial rock battle song, paired with gorgeous lighting and visual effects, builds a fascinating digital world. However, the core of the story is so empty and cliched. The weak plot and one-dimensional character design are a waste of the impressive audio-visual effects created with so much investment.